On this Monday night, Air Canada CEO is taking off. Why Michael Rousseau is retiring from the airline's top job.
I thought it was tone deaf and insensitive.
What the U.S. president is threatening to obliterate in Iran as he seeks to make a deal, and the Pentagon prepares for a ground invasion. A lifeline for people in Afghanistan.
We broadcast everything that the Taliban do not support and endorse.
The 24-hour channel run by refugees defying the Taliban.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. The CEO of Air Canada is quitting after he was heavily criticized for choosing to speak only in English in a condolence video recorded after 2 Air Canada pilots were killed on the runway at LaGuardia Airport. The airline says Michael Rousseau, who lives in Montreal and earned $13 million last year, will retire in September. He faced widespread criticism, including from Prime Minister Mark Carney, who today called Rousseau's retirement appropriate.
It is essential that the next CEO of Air Canada is bilingual. I think recent events, that should have gone without saying to begin with, but recent events have underscored the importance of that.
Mike Armstrong reports on why Rousseau's position had become untenable and what happens next.
Air Canada's statement announcing the CEO's retirement doesn't mention the language backlash sparked by Michael Rousseau's video a week ago, at least not directly. It does say when the board picks a replacement, it will consider candidates' ability to communicate in French. After an Air Canada Jazz flight collided with a fire truck on a New York runway March 22nd, Rousseau released a video with an update and expressing condolences.
Hello, bonjour.
It was, except for a bonjour at the top and a merci at the end, entirely in English.
Conçu pour aller plus loin.
As a former Crown Corporation, Air Canada falls under the Official Languages Act. Well, after the video, the Federal Official Languages Commissioner got more than 2,300 complaints.
We live in a bilingual country.
The Prime Minister expressed disappointment. And in Quebec City, the National Assembly adopted a motion unanimously calling on Rousseau to resign. A week later, news he is stepping down.
Let me go to our phone lines here.
Is still splitting public opinion.
Alex is in Laval?
They went a little bit too far. All he was doing, was giving his condolences to the family and friends of the pilot and the co-pilot.
What the politicians did was so wrong. It's disgusting.
He says he was starting to learn French. He never took a course in French. Come on, it's impossible.
I think this is another example of the English majority across Canada disrespecting the francophones here in Quebec. And I'm an anglophone.
Enough. The world is not out to get Quebec. Stop being the victim.
I thought it was tone deaf and insensitive.
Now, Blake Richards was on the flight that crashed. He says he was struck by the lack of French in Rousseau's message, but that he's also been shocked by politicians trying to score points on language.
It wasn't an urgent conversation to have in this moment.
Richards says he hopes the distraction is now over and that the focus can instead move to the investigation and to remembering the pilots, where he says it should have been in the first place. Mike Armstrong, Global News, Montreal.
Canada Post is moving ahead with plans to end what remains of door-to-door mail delivery. Canada Post says it's consulting with unions on the plan, which would move about 4 million customers to community mailboxes. In September last year, the federal government said the Crown Corporation is in an existential crisis and mandated a raft of changes to address record losses. Canada Post lost more than $1 billion in 2025, revenue driven down in part by labor disputes and customers moving their business elsewhere. The federal and Ontario governments are pledging to inject billions of taxpayers' dollars into housing-related infrastructure in Ontario. Almost $9 billion is intended to help municipalities cut the fees they charge home builders for things like roads, sewers, and water. And that, as Mackenzie Gray reports, is supposed to result in more home building.
We've got the greatest candidate.
2 weeks before the Toronto by-elections that could give Mark Carney a majority government.
Don't you love the sound of construction in the morning?
The Prime Minister promising a tax cut to help fix one of Canada's most expensive housing markets.
In recent years, they've been growing at an unsustainable rate. increasing the cost of every new home.
Carney cutting the GST on new builds under $1 million and promising to cut development charges by 50% over 3 years. Taxes cities collect from developers to pay for things like sewers and roads and new subdivisions. Benefits only for Ontario.
This is going to lower upfront costs and create certainty for builders to build the affordable homes so Ontarians can buy and rent.
But that only happens if cities agree. The federal and Ontario governments putting up a combined $8.8 billion to get municipalities to play ball.
People in the municipalities, if you don't cut DCs, you aren't getting any money.
It's a strategy that failed under Justin Trudeau, with Ottawa and Toronto raising their construction taxes after receiving hundreds of millions in federal cash, part of a long-term trend, with development charges having increased 176% since 2011 in the GTA, often adding over $100,000 to the cost of a new home.
It's about using taxpayers' dollars from all across Canada to effectively bail out municipalities.
But what about the rest of the country? The finance minister wouldn't commit to the same programs for other provinces.
You don't always have one solution fit all, but we wanted to support every province and territory to increase the housing supply in the nation.
Another winner from these changes, Ontario developers, some of whom have been in significant financial distress, particularly in the GTA condo market. And if they pass on the tax savings, a big loser could be existing homeowners, as resale prices will likely drop. Donna?
Okay, Mackenzie Gray, thank you. Prime Minister Carney also had to defend one of his MPs today. Michael Ma is criticized for questioning human rights abuses in China. Ma, who crossed the floor from the Conservatives in December, grilled a witness at a parliamentary committee last week about the existence of Uyghur forced labor in China. As Gillian Piper reports, it's not clear if Ma will face any consequences for his comments.
He's recognized the seriousness of the issue.
After 4 days of silence, the Prime Minister finally weighing in on his MP's controversial conduct.
Mr. Ma has apologized for his comments, as he should have.
Have you witnessed forced labor in Shenzhen? Yes or no?
Michael Ma faced swift backlash last week for downplaying China's use of Uyghur forced labor. Yet the Prime Minister says the recent Conservative floor crosser will stay in the Liberal caucus, which this Uyghur activist says is unacceptable.
Mr. Ma shouldn't have any place in our legislative body.
Mehmet Todi wants an apology from the federal government, but did not get one from the Prime Minister on Monday. Mark Carney stumbling when asked if he believes there is forced labor in China.
I followed this issue over the years in China and elsewhere. And there is evidence of child labor around the world. There are parts of China that are higher risk and therefore need to be diligent, yes.
Welcome. The Prime Minister is seeking to rekindle Canada's relationship with China and has previously said the Chinese president has requested a softer public tone.
He didn't say it this way, but I interpret it. Don't lecture me in public. Bring issues to me directly.
I've been to China many times.
Margaret McQuaig Johnson, who faced Ma's questions on forced labor, accepts his public apology, although he has not contacted her directly. But she is surprised Ma and Carney are going ahead with a fundraiser scheduled together just days after the incident.
I was kind of thinking that maybe Mr. Ma would get the flu or something and not be able to show up.
The finance minister is heading to China Tuesday, Donna, but when asked if he would bring up forced labor on his trip, he did not commit to doing so.
Okay, Gillian Piper in Ottawa, thanks. The price of oil surged to more than $116 US a barrel today as the US president threatens to obliterate civilian infrastructure in Iran. President Trump's latest threat is that Iran must agree to open the Strait of Hormuz to oil shipments or he'll blow up the country's energy infrastructure and seize its oil. Jackson Proskow reports on the likelihood these threats are moving the region any closer to peace.
Energy is now the primary target of this war. Iran struck Israel's largest oil refinery in Haifa, as U.S. President Donald Trump told the Financial Times he's tempted to seize Iran's main oil export hub, Karg Island. To be honest with you, my favorite thing is to take the oil in Iran, he said.
It could be taken, but this would also be a major combat operation, and there would be casualties.
On social media, Trump went further, threatening if a deal is not shortly reached, he would blow up Iran's energy and oil infrastructure and attack its desalinization plants, a likely war crime.
We are negotiating with them directly and indirectly. We're dealing with different people than anybody's dealt with before. It's a whole different group of people. So I would consider that regime change. And frankly, they've been very reasonable.
I'm not going to disclose to you who those people are because it probably would get them in trouble with some other groups of people inside of Iran. Look, there's some fractures going on there internally.
Iran's foreign ministry said no direct negotiations are underway with the Americans and called a 15-point U.S. peace proposal unrealistic and excessive. At the same time, thousands of U.S. special forces have begun arriving in the region, necessary for any ground invasion, should Trump order one.
The president has laid out the military consequences that the Iranian regime will see if they don't hold true to the words that we are hearing privately behind the scenes.
As Trump weighs his options, Iran seems undeterred and is still inflicting major damage, like this U.S. Air Force jet destroyed in Saudi Arabia. And now, with the Iran-backed Houthis joining the fight from Yemen, Iran may be able to choke off shipping through the Red Sea, a bargaining chip the U.S. simply doesn't have. Jackson Proskow, Global News, Washington.
3 UN peacekeepers from Indonesia have been killed in 2 separate incidents in southern Lebanon. UNIFIL, the United Nations interim force in Lebanon, says 2 were killed when their convoy was struck by an explosion of unknown origin. The 3rd peacekeeper died after a UN base was hit by a projectile.
Peacekeepers must never be a target. UNIFIL is investigating these incidents to determine the circumstances of these tragic developments. We also remain seriously concerned about several aggressive incidents against UNIFIL peacekeepers in the past couple of days.
Lebanon's health authority says more than 1,200 people have been killed since Israel began attacking. More than 1 million others have been displaced.
8 מתנגדים, נמנע אחד. אני קובעת
Israel's parliament has passed a law making the death penalty the default sentence for Palestinians who were found guilty by a military court of intentionally carrying out deadly attacks deemed acts of terrorism. The measure has been sharply criticized as discriminatory by European countries and rights groups. It requires execution take place by hanging within 90 days of sentencing, with minimal allowances for delays. Israel abolished the death penalty for murder in 1954. For Palestinians living under occupation, the law closes off avenues for appeal or clemency. Israel's prime minister says Catholic leaders will now have full and immediate access to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. Israeli police prevented the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem from entering the church, saying all holy sites in Jerusalem's Old City were closed because of the war on Iran. There was widespread criticism because it was the first time in centuries a Latin Patriarch had been turned away from the holy site on Palm Sunday, which marks Christ's return to Jerusalem. PEI's new advice on colon cancer coming up, why the province is lowering the recommended age for screening. Prince Edward Island is lowering the age for people to be screened for colorectal cancer. Screening will now start at age 45 instead of 50. An increasing number of younger people are being diagnosed with colorectal cancer. It is the fourth most commonly diagnosed type of cancer in Canada and the 2nd deadliest. It's been 24 hours since Avi Lewis was elected as the new leader of the New Democratic Party, and he's run into some opposition from 2 NDP premiers. Alberta NDP leader Naheed Nenshi and Saskatchewan's Carla Beck have both denounced Lewis's opposition to new oil and gas development. Today, Lewis brushed that off, saying they are united by their shared values.
We fully support those provincial sections, whatever ruffles in the family. My door is open and my hand outstretched to Carla to talk when she's ready. I do believe that hard conversations are necessary. I'm a person who actually welcomes them. I think that we need to have them.
Lewis is the new federal NDP leader, but he doesn't have a seat in the House of Commons. He confirmed today he does not plan to seek one immediately. He will instead travel across the country meeting with Canadians. Fighting for freedom ahead, one of Afghanistan's most popular TV shows gives a voice to millions there and is partially produced in Canada. 3 paintings estimated to be worth about $14 million have been stolen from a private museum in northern Italy. Italian police believe the thieves forced their way into the museum's main entrance last week, and within just 3 minutes, they grabbed paintings by Renoir, Cézanne, and Matisse and escaped through the museum's gardens. Like most things in Afghanistan, what people watch on TV is tightly controlled by the Taliban. But there's one show that is defying the rules and reaching millions. Amu TV is a 24-hour channel run by Afghan refugees in Canada and the U.S. As Jeff Semple reports, their most popular program is giving a voice to people living under Taliban rule in Afghanistan.
This is one of the most popular TV programs in Afghanistan. It's produced 10,000 kilometers from Kabul in the U.S. and Canada, and the Taliban hates it.
We broadcast everything that the Taliban do not support and endorse, such as objective journalism, music, current affairs shows, even soap opera.
This Torontonian is one of the founders of Amu TV, a 24-hour Afghan TV network. The veteran journalist fled Afghanistan to Canada in 2021 after the Taliban returned to power.
Okay, politics changed. We did not change. Our ethics of journalism, did not change.
Their tiny studio is located in this Virginia strip mall, broadcast to millions of Afghan homes via a satellite signal the Taliban doesn't control. Their small team includes Afghan refugees in Canada and the U.S., along with dozens of journalists still risking their lives inside Afghanistan. And this is their most popular program. A call-in show hosted by Sadaf Rahimi. She appears head uncovered and invites Afghan viewers to phone in. They receive thousands of calls.
Inside of Afghanistan, there is thousands sadness stories. No one know about that because the media in Afghanistan is under the control of the Taliban.
The 25-year-old host was born into war, as NATO allies, including Canada, fought to overthrow the Taliban. As a result, Rahimi was able to attend school and study journalism. But during her final semester, the Taliban returned, so she fled to the U.S.
I wanted to continue, but it was impossible for me.
Under the Taliban, women are banned from most jobs, and girls can no longer attend school past grade 6. The new school year in Afghanistan just got underway, and this weekend, parents phoned in distraught about their daughters. During the show, Rahimi herself has at times become emotional.
I can feel and understand with all of my body.
I think everybody should be emotional about it. Canadian soldiers served in Afghanistan. They made a difference, and this is basically the difference they made.
The freedom those Canadians fought for is now disappearing, but this program is trying to preserve it by giving ordinary Afghans a voice. Jeff Semple, Global News, Toronto.
It is happening. After hinting at a return, Canadian superstar Celine Dion made it official today. She is returning to the stage for a series of 10 concerts in Paris.
I'm so happy. I'm so ready to do this. I'm feeling good. I'm strong. I'm feeling excited, obviously.
Dion has rarely performed since revealing in 2022 that she's suffering from stiff person syndrome. The concerts in Paris start in September. And that is Global National for this Monday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Your Canada is Vancouver. We'd love to see your Canada. Please email it to us. And thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.